what happens today is what I'm going to look at here is this is part of a bigger picture called Teach Like a Champion or Train Like a Champion. That's 49 techniques that fabulous teachers use. But one thing that we all have in common is that when we are lecturing, presenting, teaching anything, you have to make people interested. You have to get them in the room. You have to say, here you are and you matter and this is cool. Because when we have a look at what we see with too many lecturers is that too often we don't focus on how our students are going, but what are we doing? And because we're focusing on that, we lose focus on why we started to lecture at all. And then we become a zombie lecturer. Now, zombie lecturers, you can notice, just check out on either side, see if you've got one next to you. Give them a little look. Most people have got pulses here. This is excellent. But you know your zombie lecturers. They grunt. Huh. They are vibe suckers. You're having a good time. You're sitting in the lunchroom. They walk in. There goes all the fun. I tried to do this with my class. Oh, did you? I did that once and it was crap. Why don't we try this new idea? I did this in 1972. It was bad back then. They live in the past. They suck the life out of teaching. They look at stuff and say things there and they go, oh. And the worst thing is that after a while we give up. And go, what can you do with those ones? Who works with a crusty? One who's been there so long they're just about rusted on. And you think, why don't I? And nothing's ever good enough for them and it's just bad. Well, there is a cure. What we need is good hooks. What I'm going to show you is a part of my collection of good hooks. I have over 500 clips that I steal regularly. I have a downloading problem, and the best thing in the world is called a YouTube downloader. Costs you nothing, go for it. What happens with these things is look around for good stuff. Show people things that get them in. Hook them. Say this is what is great. Because what you're looking for with the hook is something that grabs your attention and hurls you into the learning. Isn't this fabulous? This is a Chinese photographer who I've forgotten his name. But if you look for fabulous Chinese photography online, you will find that there are thousands of these, jumping out of buildings, standing on balloons, all sorts of fabulous stuff. And that's just part of it because that's just one good image. But if you walked into a lecture and that was the first image up, you'd have a pretty good idea that we're in for a pretty good lecture. Instead of going to lectures where you think, gee, I've had bowel movements which are more exciting than this. Who has sat through a whole meeting going, yep, cool, and walked out and gone, what was that all about? I've got no idea. And then you try to get your wingman in, you go, you were taking notes, weren't you? No, I was drawing cartoons. Nobody's in the room. We're all dead bodies, we're not there. Whereas if you walked in and that was, oh, we're going to drag you into learning this year, you got a chance. And when we have a look at it, hooks can be all sorts of things. Hooks can be websites. This is a fabulous website called Worldometers, or Worldometers. And Worldometers are, this is just dry old numbers. But it is organised in a fabulous way. Look closely. As we are talking, there's a whole bunch of women going, ah, because they're giving birth. And there's a whole bunch of people going, and that's it. And you'll notice that there's a difference between those two numbers, isn't it? So just have a look at that difference down here. 75 million people net More people in the world this year already. How big's Australia? 23 million. So 3 Australians this year, 3 Australias, more people. That means we're sharing the planet with more people. That should tell you so. In the world, we spend a lot of money on education. But we're not very good at education, because if we were very good at education, we wouldn't have to spend that much money on healthcare and the military. And if you're looking for a job in the future, and we don't make things in Australia much these days, but I'm going for bicycles in Asia because they're still made by people. The rest tend to be made by robotics. The biggest change in the students you work with is now social media. Have a look at how quick it takes to publish a book these days. Yay. Hang on. Quick. Oh, yes. Can you see why nobody answers your emails? Because they're flowing on. Funnily enough, they haven't got Facebook on that page because when they first set it up, Facebook wouldn't give them their permission. Which is funny because they'll share anything of yours, right? But there is a button that you can go to that can look to all of the statistics that work on it. Environmentally, gee, why don't we tax that thing? I'm a tree hugger. Non-political, there's just some stupid things. There's so much of it, tax it. $1 a day, we'd be miles in front. You could pay for all of those schools. Food, we live in the skinny side, we live in the fat side of the world. Look, there's more money being spent on weight loss programs and obesity than there are on people who are dying of hunger. Today, we lost nearly 20,000 people. I think we should do an exchange program. Send some fat ones to the thin ones and say, eat them. That'd motivate your weight loss, wouldn't it? Oops, I'm just about to turn into steak. I've got to stop eating. Who's got a tap in their house? You're better off than 716,000 people in the world, 1 million people in the world. Who's got a hot water tap? Double that. You're better off than 1.5 billion. Add a toilet to that and you're nearly over 3 billion people in the world don't have that. Half of those people live with dysentery and diarrhoea regularly because they live above their water supply. Gravity is a terrible thing. Have a look at energy. I'm going solar. Look at this one. Less than 39 years till the end of oil. That's one short lifetime. I'm in my late 30s, but if you do the maths, I'm going to be 112 when this carks it. But when you have a look at that, you think, is this why all of that manufacturing in cars at the moment is all on hybrid? The cheapest and most interesting one would be hydrogen, because the emissions are water, H2O. But the oil companies won't let you even think about that. So interesting. Are you hooked? Who's fascinated? This is just such a simple thing. Scary stuff. Look at the number of abortions in a year. Look at the number. Who's had a smoke today? God, look, you're stuffed. Look. But look at this one scares me. About 1 million people a year commit suicide. But I'll tell you why. Have a look at the number below it. Is that the world's biggest issue? I believe so. Think how many of those idiots are driving home with you tonight. Every second family I seem to work with in schools has got an issue with mental health. Alcohol and drugs are the causes. Who's fascinated? That's a good hook. One little website, so easy to work with, and we end up with a fabulous set of understandings. When we look at hooks, they come in all sorts of ways. They can be, you know, when you're working with those pre-jail kids, the kids who just come in and take up the space. You know, the alpha males, you see them walk in, and I look at you and go, because they think with it, they may as well listen with it, and you go, I want to teach you this, and they're not in the room at all because they're so switched off. They've decided, because they're living a world, they've learned all the bad rules that men should never learn. They think being tough is important. They think sport matters. You know what matters if you're good at sport? You're good at sport, that's it. Doesn't make you a better person or anything. But how do you get them interested? Well, when they come on, whack on something like this. I'm going to press it. I'm going to press it.
You know, there's one...
Sorry, I hate ads.
What up? Whoa! Little baby cat so high, so fly. Floating through the air, no cats in the sky. And I wonder what the book, getting thinking in the brain. Flying on the plane like a speed train going insane. Superman, super cat, super cool, super fat, super neat, super sweet. Everybody on the feet and dance. Like a chicken chick baby boy. Doing everything you can with a little joy. Slow down, no need a sec. Everybody just take a breath. What? Jake Hanks with children fine. Let's join these kitties and begin to fly.
Whose stomach just went, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that Magnum. Then ask them, what are the logistics behind that? How did they do it? What did you have to figure out? What do you do? How does it work? How did they get the vision? Did you figure out how they got the vision? GoPro camera and a drone. Little handheld drone, little ones that you buy in the shop with camera on. Absolutely fabulous stuff. All young kids, amazing things. You think this is interesting? I sat next to a bloke who was doing this on an aeroplane 2 weeks ago. Except he was sailing around the world on a yacht. And I said, look at this, because he was carrying a GoPro. Look at this. And he said, oh, I'll show you better. And he showed me better. Because his was underwater as well, so it gets you as you jump off and when you hit underwater, and it was just fabulous. All of about 21 years old. And when you look at quality learning, it comes in different places. So when we look at the hooks, they seem to be sometimes unrelated, but they hook you in. Because, I hope that's the clip. When we want to look at them, they can be so diverse. We can get them in so many different ways. They can be such a simple, sappy story. This is one that Kate, my wife, uses with Anglicare and stuff about the nature of romantic love, because I'm in love with my wife after 40 years, and I love her with all my heart. But this is so cheesy, isn't it? A girl asked a boy if she was pretty. He said no. She asked him if he wanted to be with her forever. He said no. And then she asked him if he would cry if she walked away. He said no, and she had had enough. She needed to leave. And as she walked away, he stopped her and told her to stay, and he said, "You're not pretty, you're beautiful. I don't want to be with you forever. I need to be with you forever. And I wouldn't cry if you walked away, I'd die." Isn't that so sick? But it's kind of nice too, isn't it? That's a hook. It's a hook because it'll get you one way or the other. It'll get you on the emotional level. Oh, it's in love and it's lovely. Or it'll get you on the, oh, I don't know whether I like this. So then you can have a great discussion about stuff like, how do women see love and men see love? Isn't it a cue to the world? How do we express it? What do we say? Just quickly turn to the person next to you and go, "I love you." Give it a try, give it a try. How'd you go? If you've got a boss in the room, go, "I really love you." Because you always suck up to the boss because they might have funding, right? But what happens when we look at hooks, they come in so many different forms. A hook can be just a really good way to teach a concept. I'm going to do a quick hook with you. In 3 minutes, I'm going to go 5 minutes. I'm going to teach you how your brain works. But you need a partner, quick. Find a partner. Watch it, the good ones go quick. Sit next to them. Get everything out of your hands because you need your hands for this. Now this is a hook from a group, a big website called Whole Brain Teaching. Now the whole aim of Whole Brain Teaching, did you get a part? Yeah, come sit shoulder to shoulder, it'll make it easier. Yeah, oh, I'm pedantic. What happens with this is whole brain teaching is how do I fire up as many neural cortexes as I can to get you to learn stuff. So it involves call and response. So it's stupid. I know it's stupid. You don't have to tell me it, but you just got to do it, right? So how it works is I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go teach and you're going to go okay. How I say teach, you say okay. So try this. Teach. Okay. Teach. Okay. Teach. And when I say teach, you say, okay, you turn to your partner and you're going to teach them what I teach you. And then when I want you to come back, I'll go, class, and you'll go, yes. Try that. Class. Yes. Oh, class. Oh, yes. I love this stuff. Stupid, but it's fun. So put your two fists together like that. That's the size of your brain. Check out the person next to you. If you're sitting next to a man, he's just gone, mine's huge. Size does not count. Women's brains are actually smaller, but they're much tighter packed, which makes them more efficient, less space to travel in. So what happens is here, put your two fingers together like that because it's easier. This is how we go. Now, I want you to repeat after me. So it goes like this. This is my brain. At the front of my brain is the prefrontal cortex. It is the boss of my brain. At the top of my brain is the motor cortex. It looks after movement. At the back of my brain is the visual cortex. It looks after sight. Now, stop there for now. But what this is prefrontal cortex, oxygen sucker. You need to make a decision. You've got to breathe in. Because if you don't breathe in, you do stupid stuff. Who's ever done stupid stuff going, why did I do that? I wish I hadn't have said that. I just want to grab it and stick it back. That's the problem. You didn't go, engage prefrontal cortex. For boys, it takes 25 years for this to kick in. And the stupid thing is we give them a car before then. It's like, idiot. Top of the brain, motor cortex. Got no brains at all. Once it's learned a pattern, it's on. Who drives to work and can't remember how you got there? That's it. Always looking for pattern, okay? And it freaks out when the pattern's wrong. You ever done that? You sit in a chair, never sat in this chair before, without thinking your motor cortex has gone hand, seat, butt, match, happy. You ever sat in those chairs that you can crank down? And it's down a little bit, somebody cranks it and you go, oh, and you freak out. You ever done it with a toilet seat? You go, oh, yuck! I thought it was down. Oh! I hope there's water. Visual cortex trumps everything. If you can learn something visually, you'll learn it forever. If you're a visual learner, great learners. They get it. Can see it straight away. If they're not, you need repetition after repetition after repetition. And we're very, very slack on visual learning. Because what happens is we now live in a world where we don't have to have visual learning, we take photos. Write it down. My dad used to have a terrible memory. He said, I have to write my name down before I go to sleep, just in case I forget it. I used to say, where did you put the piece of paper? Get you one way or the other. Because what happens with this is that visual memory just hits you. And people say, oh, my house burnt down and I lost all my memories. No, you lost your photos. Memories are still there. You just got to learn how to dig them out. So I want you to remember this. So when I say teach, you say, okay, you're going to turn to your partner. You're going to teach them. This is my brain, front of my brain, prefrontal cortex. It's the boss of my brain. Top of my brain, motor cortex. It looks after movement. Back of my brain, visual cortex. It looks after sight. Teach. Pathetic. You've got to yell it back. Here we go. Teach.
Yes.
Say okay.
Okay.
Teach them. Class! Classity class! For kids, you're going to go, class! This is my brain, front of my brain, prefrontal cortex. It's the boss of my brain. Top of my brain, motor cortex. It looks after movement. Back of my brain is visual cortex. It looks after sight. Now, break open your brain. Put it up. Here we go. Go. In the middle of my brain is the limbic system. It looks after emotions, habits, taste and smell. This is the one that gets you into trouble all the time, right? This is why he ate 3 ice creams. This is the habits, because it's touched with taste and smell. It's very attractive, right? So what happens with that is that emotions, we don't realise that you can change an emotion like that. Your emotions usually lie to you. You really need that extra Magnum ice cream. No, you don't. Yes, you do. You're dumb, you're stupid. You get into those habits of thinking. Now, the habit changes everything. If you drink alcohol, I don't drink alcohol at all. I gave it up 8 years ago, and no, I'm not a recovering alcoholic. I just wanted to see my grandchildren grow up. So what happens is I stopped. I know somebody who calls me, I won't say who he is, but he says, he comes from Ireland, an alcoholic nation. He tells me, I know people like you, we call them quitters. He tells me that Irish whiskey tastes like mother's milk. I said, I'd hate to meet your mum. We can go to the same event and have 2 totally different recollections because he can remember until he throws up. But that's what it'll do. Emotions will change the taste of things for you. If I gave you some Irish whiskey and you didn't know what it was and put it in your mouth, you'd spit it out. But because it's got emotions and a whole set of tastes and smells based around it, it tastes beautiful to some people. Interesting. Here we go. Break open your brain. In the middle of my brain is the limbic system. It looks after emotions, habits, taste and smell. In the left hemisphere of my brain is the Broca and Wernicke sectors. They look after speaking and hearing. Not listening. Listening is prefrontal cortex. It's I've got to pay attention. Interesting, isn't it? You're hooked. When I say teach, you say okay. Go from the bottom up. Go from Wernicke, Broca and Wernicke, the two guys who discovered them. This looks after speaking and listening, to limbic system, emotions, habits, taste and smell. And then you got the rest, okay? Go from visual, teach. Class! Yes. The base of my brain, everyone, at the base of my brain is the brainstem. It looks after fight, flight, camouflage. This is the reptilian brain. If I had a big reptile here and go for it, it'd do one of three things. It would attack you, fight, flight, it'd run away. Where'd it go? Or camouflage. You know those lizards, you poke them with a stick, they go, I'm dead, mate, I'm dead, nick off, I'm dead. What sort of a zombie freak pokes a dead body with a stick? Go away, you idiot! How many times you see that with your students? You chuck them something too quick, all of this stuff's up, they end up down here. Fight, oh, this is stupid, I'm going to do this. Flight, I've had enough of this, I'm going home. I'm going to tell my mum and my dad and my dog. That's just a staff meeting. And then, camouflage. What'd you do today? Nothing. What do you want for tea? Whatever. What's school like? Boring. What do you want for tea? Food. Will I shoot you tomorrow? Yeah, I got nothing else to do. Now, can you see, by using that call and response and simple thing, I've totally hooked you in. It's actually not how the brain works. It is a metaphor for how the brain works. The brain can grow any of those dendrites and synapses anywhere in that brain. It's called neuroplasticity. But I learnt this off of year one. And it was so cool, I just got to share it. But it helps you understand what's going on in your brain. It's a metaphor. Like it? Cool hook. Look at Teach Like a Champion anytime you want to remember anything that goes in orders, lists of stuff. Because when we look at other hooks, they can be not as complicated as that, but pretty simple. They can emphasise a point. I want you to remember to breathe when you make a decision. Stop and think about it. So then you just go, oh, let's emphasise that point. Isn't that beautiful? What a gorgeous piece of work. So simple to do. Never take breathing for granted. My father died from emphysema. Give up smoking today. Aren't I a pain? When we have a look at it, go for the big messages. Don't be scared to look for stuff that matters. Now, when we look at these, they can be a whole range of things. They can be props. Props are so cool because you can get things to do things. You want to time some kids? Timer. This used to be a 20-second timer, but I stood on it. So this is the ramp. This is the walker. And seeing I stood on it, it's now a 17-second timer. It has improved. And I need something to rest it on. That kid won't call out again. Stupid, but it's fun. You do that. I've had kids, the toughest kids in the toughest training institutions, come up and go, can I have a look at your leg, mate? I go, sure. Do you want an arm too? And they go, what? Oh. Anyhow, how cool's that? Sometimes he dies. Who wants one of these though? They are so simple. I'm doing a workshop with engineers, right? And you know what engineers like? Nothing offensive. But they're not the most dynamic group I've ever worked with. And they're sitting there going, this one bloke's sitting there the whole time going, what do you think when someone looks at you like this? That they hate me, right? End of the workshop, this guy walks towards me, like I'm over here, and he goes, I think he's going to hit me, and he goes, and he reaches around me and goes, that's awesome, mate. I've been looking at that the whole time thinking I could mill that and still I could get that down to about that big, you know, and then I could have tracks around there and all, and that's about $1 million. Can I take some photos? Too good a hook. Too good a hook. But you got to figure out what is it that I can get them in. Get their attention. Yell. Hook them in. Rip their heart out. Show them what matters, but the whole thing is you want to include them in this learning journey. And it can be so many simple things that we do. It could be simply TTYPA. Turn to your partner and share this. Turn to your partner and it could be someone, you could do that with great hooks. That's the story of the 3 pigs, but we're out of time. I don't want to cut them down to 3.5 pigs or half a quarter pig. We can learn to escape the cult of the average. That's a beautiful graph by a guy called Sean Acor. If you want a joyous thing, look up Sean Acor and have a listen about positive psychology. He says the trouble is, this is all fake data because it's designed to get him published. He said if you got this data from people in this room, you'd be very happy because there's obviously a trend. And there is one weird person here. Don't worry, I've already seen you. But I can remove that because it doesn't agree with the rest of my data. And there's a problem because they'd like you to fall below this line. Because when you come in, that gets us a business called psychology and psychiatry, because when you're below that, we'll go back into your history and try and solve your problem. And that's great because you'll come back 10 times and it's very good for my business. But what happens is when you try to measure excellence, you only measure the average. What does the average lecturer do in their workshop? And we've got people like you turn up today and you're all above average. So I want to study you. I want to find out what makes you exceptional, what makes you terrific, and how can we move the average up instead of moving everyone back to the average. Good. Interesting. He says it better, but we're out of time. Use a fabulous graphic. That's the occupational health and safety stuff, is it? Watch out for these sharp knives. You will lose parts of your body. Put that above the sink. They always use the knife properly, right? It's so simple. Use a good graphic. Make it work. It can be just simple stuff. How do you turn something into something great? Or it could be a really good question. Like, what is beauty? We used to be young and beautiful. And now we're just beautiful. It can be about you. This is granddaughter. I got 4 grandkids. One of my daughters is a fashion designer thanks to Central TAFE. Yes, and she's beautiful. So I got 4 grandkids with fashion designer names. There's Atticus, Calypso. This is Calypso. Eames and Silver. My son's a gardener. His son's called Max. This is Calypso on her 3rd birthday. Isn't she beautiful? Got to tell you about 3-year-olds. That was 2 seconds later. Never try to reason with a 3-year-old. They're terrorists. She's now 6 and absolutely gorgeous. Hooks can be good questions like, what is beauty? Oh, sorry. Wrong question. Tell me something about yourself that I don't know. What a great hook that I couldn't guess about you. Isn't that a good question? Really good one. And you can do it pretty simple. Put them with a pair. Hook them in. Talk to the person next to you. Tell them something about you that... And then go around and you find out about stuff. A simple hook at the beginning of a unit so you get to know your kids. But whatever it is, don't be a zombie. Get that look on those students' faces. Make them eager to be with you and learn as well. And if you're hooked on hooks, you can send me a USB and I'll send you 500 clips on 30-odd websites. And if you want to talk to me about this, I've got a week and a half coming up that you can have. I'll help you plan hooks and teaching like champions and designing awesome stuff. Because I love yous all and I like to work. But I thought I'd finish with a great hook for the end of a conference. This is a beauty. And I love this because I used to teach science quite a bit and it's a scientific one. This is by Steve Spangler. It's called an energy stick. And it's got a PCB in there, a little nasty, that sends out electricity and a couple of big batteries. It sends out electricity, but not enough to hurt you. I've put this through a girl with a pacemaker. It didn't hurt her at all. She was worried, but didn't hurt her at all. Very scared. But how it works is that there's 2 terminals there. $7.50 this cost me in Toys R Us. Touch that, nothing happens. Touch that, nothing happens. Make the circuit. Let's make the circuit bigger. Here we go. Let's make the circuit bigger. Hold that. Put your other hand in the air.
Very cool.
Stand up, everybody. Let's make a circuit. Get yourself out to the edges. Hold hands. Oh, you've got nice warm ones. I'll keep those. There we go. Let everybody in. We'll know when we're there. Hold there. We're waiting. There's a stretch. Go, Kelly. Yay! It's always one.
Just going to test.
Who is it? No more ice creams for you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Now what happens is that should be what our training should be, where you get everybody in and the light comes on and there's an energy and you can see it and hear it. But all you need is one vibe sucker in your faculty and it's just a stick. And what we got to spell out is the magic of learning. Stay there, don't move. Because most people, a lot of kids come to school and they don't see any magic in learning at all. There's nothing there. Today, all I wanted to do was to outline the possibilities. Yeah. And now it's your job to take this and to colour that in. And the magic is when we enjoy learning so much that those kids can't help but learn from us. So turn to the person next to you, tell them that they're wonderful. Turn to somebody on the other side and tell them that they're marvellous. You're marvellous. Sorry, I was away. Find a boss of yours in the room and look at them and go, I really love you. Look at me and say, you're brilliant. Not really. No, first, learn to give compliments. Next, learn to receive them. So when someone says you're wonderful, don't go, I know. Or what do you want? Say thank you, because God don't make no junk and you're very much good enough.
Authorised by the Government of Western Australia, Perth.